My name is Liza Morales. It feels so good to have my voice tonight. My voice has been missing for quite some time. Tonight is a part of my journey in rediscovering and finding my voice. But first, I have to start off by saying when it is that I lost my voice. I grew up in Queens, New York. Shout out to Queens. Woo woo! Q Borough. I grew up in a two-parent home, working middle-class family. I thought everything was great until I got a little bit older. I remember at 7 years old, playing with my dolls under the dining room table, and my parents coming downstairs, fighting, arguing, fussing. They did that a lot when I was that age. They stopped in the dining room. They had no idea that I was under the dining room table. And my father yelled out, "I should tell Liza that Nathan is not her real brother." I just sat there frozen. I just didn't want them to know I was down there. I was silent. I don't remember the rest of that night. What I do remember is their arguing, their conflict would continue for years. When I was in 6th grade, I came home from school one day with my childhood friend, Tina. And my dad's clothes were scattered all over the living room, and I remember seeing some luggage and a couple of boxes, and my dad was leaving. He was moving. I remember him telling me, "I'm gonna go live with your aunt," his sister, who lived in the Bronx. And I just watched him packing, silent. A few days later, the divorce papers came from my mom, and their divorce dragged on, that conflict dragged on. Through early high school, that conflict, that silence would follow me throughout my life. My freshman year of high school, Christ the King High School, I met Lamar. What I remember about Lamar was he was tall, right? He was skinny. And he had a great smile, very charismatic. We were cool, we were friendly, homies, for a couple of years. We were in the same homeroom, and our lockers were nearby. We didn't start dating, seeing each other, going out. Is that what we used to say in the 90s, y'all? Till our junior year of high school. And even when Lamar left Christ the King our senior year, we still continued seeing each other. And I guess our relationship, I guess you'd call it puppy love, it was passionate, it was intense. At 18, I got pregnant with Destiny, our firstborn, and I had her at 19 years old. 19 years old, I remember thinking, my life is gonna change forever because it's not just about me anymore. After about a year at the University of Rhode Island, Lamar left college and he decided to enroll in the NBA draft. And he was drafted to Los Angeles Clippers. I remember a couple of days after the draft, Lamar came to my home, and I remember him sitting me down, and I remember him crying, and he was just so anxious about this new journey he was about to embark on. And I remember him asking me, begging really, if he would go with him to Los Angeles, me and Destiny, his family. And I loved our little family, and I wanted Destiny to have 2 parents. And so I left everything that I knew, everything that I loved in New York, and I moved to Los Angeles at 20 years old. 20 years old with my 1-year-old daughter, my boyfriend who was a rookie in the NBA, and living in Los Angeles. Palm trees, Hollywood sign. Doesn't rain in Southern California, right? It seems so glamorous. And there were the perks. I'm not going to deny that. But I was home alone a lot. I had no friends in LA. Lamar was, playing basketball. He was practicing. He was bonding with new teammates that he made, or he was traveling the country playing ball. So it was just me and Destiny and my silence. After a couple of years, I got pregnant again with our son, Lamar Jalen, LJ. Our family was expanding at the same time that Lamar's career was shooting up. It's exciting, right? But that attention brought more women. And we really used to get into it about the women. But Lamar had this ability to just calm me down with, those women mean nothing to me, They mean nothing. They're birds, they're chicken heads, they're whatever we used to say back then. You're the one I love, you're my family, you're the one I'm gonna marry. And I loved our family, and I wanted it to work, so I stayed. A couple of more years pass, and I get pregnant again, another boy, a Christmas baby. My due date just so happened to be December 25th. What a blessing. Jaden was a blessing. Jaden's time with us was short and sweet. Jaden was sweet. Jaden had these big brown eyes. They were like saucers. And he loved to watch people. He loved to just observe. He was like a people watcher. It's kind of like he knew his time here was limited. On June 29th, 2006, I remember waking up, it was around 8 a.m. or so. And I remember just that feeling of just being so surprised. I was so caught off guard because Jaden, he let me sleep in. Jaden was like on such a tight schedule, like every 3 to 4 hours. And my baby monitor, was silent. I went to go check on him in the bedroom, and I saw him there, his blanket. I let him be, and remember I went downstairs, I heard Zonia, our nanny, who had come with us from LA. We were only supposed to be in New York for a week or two. Lamar's aunt, Sandy, had passed away suddenly, and we were in New York for her wake and funeral. So I heard her, I heard Zonia preparing the kids' breakfast, I could hear them, and my mom just so happened to be off from work that day. So I went to the kitchen, my mom was at the kitchen table, and I said, I can't believe Jaden let me sleep in this long. Like, Jaden's still sleeping. And my mom said, he's okay, right? I remember I said it so matter of fact, yeah, why wouldn't he be? So I remember my mom, she got up from the kitchen table, she went upstairs, and I followed behind. I said, you know what? It is about that time to get him up anyway for his breakfast, his feeding. And my mom went upstairs, I followed behind her. And I remember my mom turning him over. And his lips were blue. Call 911, call 911. My mother screamed. I remember running to my bedroom, calling 911. And as if it just happened last week, I could still feel the energy of the 911 operator. He was so cold. He was so stern, just disconnected. The ambulance arrived within minutes, and I just watched as the EMTs, the firemen, they worked on him. And then I just remember them grabbing him up like a football and bringing him into the ambulance and whisking him off to the hospital. In the house that day, there was just screaming. We were just all screaming, crying. I remember begging God, please don't take him. Please don't take him. Jaden passed away that day. The days of mourning Jaden, the loss of Jaden, turned into weeks. And Lamar had to get ready for his NBA season, preseason, with the Lakers. And I remember him assuming we would be going with him back to LA, and I couldn't go back to LA. No. I needed my support system. So I said, I'm going to stay in New York. I'm going to stay in New York. And this would end up being a pivotal crossroads in my life. And I stayed in New York. I registered the kids for school. They made new friends. I made new friends. And we stayed in New York. I often said Lamar and I's relationship died when Jaden died. We just grieved so differently, I experienced extreme depression. I was diagnosed with depression. I leaned heavily on my spirituality and my relationship with God. And Lamar's grieving, he leaned heavily on drugs and women. In 2009, Lamar met Khloe Kardashian. 30 days later, they were married. I remember being on the soccer field, watching LJ practice. I was with some of the soccer moms, some of my friends. And I remember one of the moms, my friend to this day, she's still a really good friend, said to me, "That guy over there, he's taking your picture." So I was like, what? I look and I see this huge zoom lens camera, like bam, right at me. This was the beginning of the paparazzi following us and our day-to-day lives. We don't live the most exciting lives, soccer practice, Whole Foods, whatever. But they wanted to compare and contrast, our lives in New York City and Lamar's life living with the Kardashians in Los Angeles. Oh man, what a time. What a whirlwind. Whew. Around this time, Lamar and I, our relationship, we just couldn't find it in ourselves to be cordial. It was just, we were arguing more and more, and there goes that conflict again. And it definitely took its toll on our kids, and they felt torn. Our daughter Destiny was diagnosed with depression at 14 years old, freshman year of high school. So I had to take it upon myself and say, you need to do something to lessen the conflict. You need to be the one to do whatever it is you have to do to be cordial and to break the cycle. My kids were experiencing the same thing that I did with my parents, that Lamar did with his parents. We have to find it in ourselves to be the ones to break whatever cycle, whatever that generational cycle is. And so, a couple of years pass, and boom, Lamar's drug addiction comes to a head in 2015. I remember I got a text message from a friend of mine, and it said, "I'm so sorry to hear about Lamar. How are you guys?" I had no idea what she was talking about. So I responded with a question mark. She responded with a TMZ link. I'll never forget that headline. It was like, "Lamar Odom in a coma, found in a Nevada brothel." Whew. We didn't know if Lamar was going to live or die. I remember my phone just nonstop ringing. The Today Show, Matt Lauer, when he was still there. Good Morning America, all this press, I don't know how they got my number. Loved ones, friends, just trying to ask questions, trying to make sure we're okay. I remember my neighbors trying to look out for us, telling us that the media and the press and the paparazzi were downstairs outside our New York City apartment building. We felt so trapped. That day, going to the airport, a paparazzi followed us in a smart car. You know those little smart cars? They look like they're something you get from Toys R Us. I remember him following us the whole way to JFK Airport, just zooming. That's why they have those little cars, so they could just zoom in and out. Never seen something like that before. We never lived through something like that. But they had to get that shot. They had to get that shot. They had to get it. They had to get that picture of us so they could sell it. You gotta sell that pain. You gotta sell that pain for consumption. As you know, Lamar made it. He's here tonight. We were so grateful. I was so grateful. I was so hopeful. I said, wow, okay, God gave him another chance. He's going to make the most of it. And he's going to be an amazing father. And everything that the kids have missed out on, he's going to realize it. And he's going to be there. And anybody who knows anything about addiction, or maybe you don't, it doesn't work that way. Regardless of how grateful, how hopeful you are, addiction, it's a long road, it's a long journey. Look, I know our story isn't necessarily unique. There may be people in this audience that struggle with addiction. There may be people in this audience that have a loved one that struggles with addiction or mental health issues. But what makes our situation unique is that our shit is public. Like, you guys know all our shit. If I could say one thing to my daughter Destiny, it would be, you're strong, you're smart, you're beautiful, but we really need to address our childhood traumas, right? We really do, because what I don't want for my daughter is for her to go out there and look for whatever it is she didn't get as a young girl in a man. What I would say to my son Lamar Jaden, LJ, is you weren't born to fill somebody else's shoes. You weren't born to live in somebody else's shadow. That's not how God makes us. We all have our own journeys, our own paths, our own shoes to walk. You have your own path, your own journey, your own legacy. What I would say to Lamar Sr. is, I don't know why God kept you here, but what I know is that He gave you more time. So make the most of it. There's so many memories out there. Let's not look at the past, half glass, half empty. There's so many memories out there. Go out there, create them. What I would say, I had like a time machine. I could go back and talk to 7-year-old Liza hiding under the dining room table in silence. I would say, you're going to experience a lot of turbulence on this flight. Make sure you put your seatbelt on. When it gets really, really bumpy, and when that oxygen mask comes down, you secure it on yourself first. You secure yourself so that way you could help whatever children are flying with you on this journey. Most importantly, I would tell her, trust the pilot. The pilot has Jaden with him in a co-pilot kind of situation, watching. Just trust that the pilot would not put you through all this turbulence that will make you feel so sick, so very sick, and have you questioning, why was this flight chosen for me? One thing I do know is if I could help one person, one family, I know my journey hasn't been in vain. Isn't that what life is about? We go through all that we go through, and we're supposed to share that with other people. We're supposed to share our journeys, our wisdom, so that it lessens the load for somebody else, and we keep passing it on, and we passing it on. I truly believe that. So you trust the pilot, and you know he won't put you through all this turbulence unless he knew the outcome of your destination. Trust the pilot. Jaden, Mama has her voice now. And I'm going to use it to help other people, other families, similar struggles. My name is Liza Morales, and I have my voice. Thank you.